Okay, I guess that's my cue. Welcome to, I don't know, White Boy Variety Show, because that's what this really is, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot less talking about Dungeons and Dragons than we initially anticipated, mostly because we both kind of don't like that system.
True. It's a perfectly fine 6 out of 10.
There's just objectively
Um,
better ones.
True. But yeah, White Boy Variety Show, because the internet doesn't have enough of that. Well, two white boys made a podcast and talk about whatever the fuck they want. Where have I heard that one before?
I've never seen that before.
Completely original thought. Uh, Speaking of not at all remotely original thoughts, the thing we do every time we do this, where we talk about whatever we've been playing, reading, watching, listening to, some other variation of media consumption I've forgotten about.
Yeah, I know both of us have been engaging in a lot of Hades recently.
I have been playing. All right, so Hades 2 dropped the same way Hades 1 did, where it was early access, and then I believe they not that long ago overall finally got it to 1.0. I think.
Yeah, it's full release.
Um, So that means it's finally out, which means I gotta play it eventually. But before I can play it, I gotta fucking finish the first one because I've never finished the first one. So I've locked the fuck in. I've been trying to get through it. Because what happened is I finished a run, but that's nothing, right?
Right.
Before. Uh and then for reasons I'll get into, I found it really difficult to pick up where I left off, so I started completely over and have just kind of been chipping my way through it. We're gonna do the Dustin Classic, where I uh, make a very important point of saying Hades is very, very good. It looks great. It sounds great. It's got good writing. And I like every character in it. And now I'm gonna shit talk it for the next 20 minutes.
Pop off. Go for it. I've got pizza.
um, Wonderful game. Love it. Very good. Um, there's just a stacking collection of minor problems that irritate me a lot when I play it for a long time at once, that stop me from being all in on Hades. And just to, I guess, give a little bit of context, I have played almost everything else this company has put out. Played Bastion, I played Transistor. They have that fucking volleyball or basketball or whatever the fuck it is, dodgeball game. Pyre, I think is what it's called. I don't know. Anyway, they got a bunch of games. I played all of them. I haven't finished all of them. I played them all. But they make good games. Hades is the same. On that note, Asphodel is one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever played in my goddamn life. Why does this level exist? What is going on over here? What the fuck? Uh, it is the perfect collection of things I hate in a level that drives me up the fucking wall. Uh, you have lethal lava land bullshit going on. You can't, the floor is lava, don't touch it, which, you know, in isolation, whatever. And then you combine it with a level that's enemies are 90% ranged enemies and can hover above the lava and not take damage. So you can put yourself in a position where to kill them, you have to go take damage to kill them, which sucks. Uh, with the extra bonus of all the mini bosses being a pain in the ass and having the single most boring boss fight in that fucking game in all three variations of it. Ooh, a bone hydra where I can pick a ranged weapon and just stay out of its range and not get punished for it whatsoever. Very cool.
Yeah, I've actually I'm playing Hades 2 right now. That game has me in a stranglehold. But I've actually never gotten to play the first one. I saw that the second one was on sale, thought, "Hey, I've seen good things about that one," and started playing it. Uh,
I'm gonna ask for no spoilers on that because I do want to play it
sure.
mostly sight unseen.
Yeah. I'll keep that to a minimum, especially since it kind of came out fairly recently, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone who might be watching either. Um, Overall, fantastic game. Love the characters, love the writing. The gameplay, I've not had any big hangups with it so far. I guess the only real exception to that is the and I guess this is kind of the point, right? But like the final well, I say final, one of the bosses is basically impossible unless you've had a god run. Um which makes sense, I guess, right? But there's a certain point where it's like, okay, this is a lot less skill and a lot more do I just have what like the raw damage to tank through this. Um, but like that aside, it's been really fun. It's got great progression both up and down. It's got super fun like expansions and character moments and all that kind of stuff. It's you can pet the dogs. That's always a win.
True.
Uh,
Do that in the first game too.
yeah, it's just an overall outstanding game. I'm enjoying it a lot. Uh, I will probably be playing more of it once this recording is over.
Bro's like, yeah, shut the fuck up, old man. Let me go play Hades too. Um, I really don't like that second stage in the first game. It's a collection of things I don't like. Um, but that's not my only problem. Um, I think a weird problem the first game has is that none of the boons, none of the upgrades feel particularly interesting outside of a couple of exceptions. It's all a lot of like the format is like here's a boost to damage of some capacity, and then here's a status effect we apply to a certain type of attack, and then you'll have a cast that you can do with that status effect, and a call you can do with that status effect, and most of it's kind of just boring. It's like, oh yeah, I get a boost to damage and one of 4 standard status effects I can apply to enemies. There's a couple that are interesting, but by and large, it follows that format, and it's like, okay, I basically just know like the three boons I'm looking for uh, out the gate because I can kind of just apply the same thought process to most of them and get away with it because they're all so similar. Um,
Right, yeah. I That's one thing I have actually been really enjoying about Hades 2 is there is such a wide variety of things that the boons do for your weapons and your abilities. Like there's generally like a couple of different categories they fall into, but some of them can legitimately completely overhaul your build. Like there's a set of weapons that's 2 knives, and the like the throwing the secondary attack for those is you throw them, right? But
Mhm.
then the charged secondary is you throw out a fan of knives in front of you. And there's some boons that make it so that you throw extra knives, so it's like 180 degrees in front of you. You're just chucking a bunch of knives. There's one where it makes all of them fire in one straight line, so you're firing a beam of them. And it's just there's so much you can do with it, and I've really been enjoying that because I've put probably hold on, how many hours do I have in that game? Yeah, I've put oh okay, yeah, I've only put like 10 hours into the game, granted, but I've done close to like I think 15 runs so far, and I've yet to have 2 of them have like be the same. And I see no sign of it becoming that anytime soon, given that I still have to unlock like 2 weapons.
Yeah, I was really hoping that the boons would affect the weapons more, change their firing rate or change their swing rate or change the way like they attack. And there's a couple that do, like it's not universally this way, but most of them are just kind of flat statistical changes and a status effect applied, and I think that's kind of boring. And there are weapon upgrades separate from the god's boons that change things a little bit like that, but they're fewer and far between, and you find them less often. At least so far I have. It's a little sad.
Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
get that. Having played the second game, I can see how that would be really annoying. I haven't encountered that at all. Granted, again, only 10 hours in, but
um, and that kind of follows up with like I don't really think any of the weapons are. Excuse me. I don't think the weapons are by and large unique enough to even be that interesting separately. Um, there's a standout thing about each weapon, but at the end of the day, it's still just like, yep. There's 2 ranged options that are different, but I don't know. They don't feel very unique to me. They attack differently, but at the end of the day, my strat with both of the ranged attacks is basically the ranged weapons is basically the same thing. Stop in place, fire a shot, dash away, do it again. And my strat for most of the melee weapons is the same shtick of like a hit and run. get a special, run away. There's not a lot of variety there, which is unfortunate. But that's none of those are my actual biggest problem with the game. I think my biggest problem with the game is that it has borderline no progression traction tracking in the game whatsoever. So I'm having to act like it's fucking like 1985 and mark my goddamn progression manually.
How
The
so?
menus will
Like,
tell you like the menus will tell you like, oh yeah, you've talked to this god, or uh you've given them a nectar, so they give you an item in return. But then you get to like with the weapons you unlock something. You unlock a spendable resource the first time you beat one of the three normal levels. There's more after the three, but most runs do three and then like the final level with the last boss. In each of those three levels, each time you beat it with a weapon, you get a unique unlock, and then after that, it just becomes standard currency. Um, and the only place it tells you that I've found um, what levels you've beaten with what weapons is in the level transition screen when you finish the first of the three normal levels in a run. Meaning, if you don't remember if you've beaten like the third level with the sword, you just got to grab the sword and hope not. Otherwise, you're not getting anything special out of that run.
oh, gotcha.
So I have a list of each weapon and what levels I've beaten with them. At this point, I've beaten up through the second level with every weapon and the third with a couple. Um, because I don't want to just grab it, start a run, realize I already have everything, and either finish the run because I might get to the final boss, or throw because the things I'm more interested in unlocking right now I'm not going to get out of this run. Which is the problem I ran into when I took a long break for a couple years and came back. There was no way for me to get a concise like this is what you're doing, this is what you're working towards, this is where you're at, this is what you've already done. You can kind of tell who you've talked to enough to get unlocks, but there's certain unlock conditions that aren't marked in your menu at all, so you don't know like if you've done a certain thing or if you have things left to do. Um, and it's really fucking annoying.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I haven't. So in the second game, I've found that I don't think, at least as far as I've gotten, there's not been any need to like, beat every level with every weapon. It's possible that like late game that's a thing, but I haven't encountered it yet. With the like tracking of who you've talked to, they actually have a book that you can open at any point, like any point in the game, and it'll tell you, oh, here's how many nectars you've given to these people, here's what you need to do to get to the next stage of relationship or like interaction with them, here's like the possible routes you could take to do that, and it's fairly comprehensive as far as I've seen, um, which is good because I think possibly potentially there's a romance thing. I haven't gotten that far, but maybe.
there's something kind of like that in the first game, so I'd imagine so. But yeah, it's like the conversations, the friendships you build are tracked to a degree, but as my friend has found out, the friend I was talking to when you pulled up on me a couple minutes ago, there are certain unlocks related to getting like the epilogue and the final ending and stuff that they don't track, which means you just gotta kind of hope for the fucking best. So you can put yourself in the situation where you front loaded all the conversations with characters that you can find in the hub area repeatedly, easily. But then all the gods who give you boons aren't there at all, and you just have to find them on runs. And then there's some other characters who give you items in the runs but aren't in the hub area at all. Um, so you gotta spend a portion of your game time just grinding out the related resource to give these people to unlock their conversations to finish the fucking game properly, while also hoping that that relevant god or character spawns.
Yeah, that is.
Meanwhile, it's not tracked at all with every little detail. Like there's not even like a blank checkbox that says like you haven't unlocked this final conversation. I don't care if it doesn't give me context as to how I do it. I would just like to know that I haven't done it.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because it's implied that this book is a canonical thing that your character has, uh, which is just hilarious to me because it's like a journal of, oh, I've talked to this person 12 times today. Um, but as far as I can tell, the grinding out of the material to progress that particular thing is still very much present. It's just that you can actually track it now, and you can see who you need to talk to. But you do still have to kind of roll the dice and hope, oh, I hope I get Hephaestus this run, because I haven't fucking given that guy Nectar yet, and I need to do that.
Uh, the grind doesn't bother me because you can, once you know it's a thing, you can adjust for it and figure it out. But it sucks because they don't track it at all, and it's just like, okay, I guess I'll just fucking hope. Like I'll just because then you get in the loop of like grinding and then hoping people spot and not knowing when you've progressed it enough to move on to somebody else.
Yeah, that does sound really annoying.
Which way back in the day was a normal problem to have, but that's not the landscape we live in anymore, and I don't want to deal with keeping my fucking notes anymore.
Which is fair. Yeah, that's like there's some games like some puzzle games where I'm like I'm okay with keeping notes. That's okay. I don't mind that. But at the same time, it's like I'm not playing Hades for the relationship puzzles. I'm playing Hades because it's a fun action roguelike.
Uh, it doesn't have the. I mean, there's a time and a place for being handmade notes and stuff. I just don't think this is the game for it.
No, yeah, I agree.
And we don't live in an era where that's a necessary component of things, so it really just feels like kind of an oversight on the game's part. And given that the game's release structure was the same as the second game, where it released in early access and they slowly built it up to a 1.0 release, how the fuck did it get this far without some kind of proper progression tracking? It's crazy to me. And then 5 years, what, five some odd years later, they never put in a patch post launch to be like, all right, here's a way to track your progression.
That
When
is
they have
that's
800 other optional toggles for accessibility features.
that is actually kind of insane now that you're putting it in perspective. How
Like,
long has that game been out? Hang on.
I think it came out in 2020. I think 1.0 was 2020. Yeah, September 17th, 2020 was 1.0. It's
Yeah.
Steam's quote unquote release date, so I'm assuming that only accounts for 1.0.
Also, I'm sorry, I just realized my clicky sounds are going to come through in that recording. Oh well.
Yeah, they'll live. White boy variety hour, clicks are a variety.
True.
But yeah, I just think it's crazy because this game's got a whole fucking list of like accessibility options and things to make the game more convenient for people who might have trouble with a certain aspect. It's got like a baked in God mode kind of deal where like if you die a lot, you get bonuses to help you not die so much, so you can keep progressing for people who don't play as much as we do, or just aren't I don't want to say aren't as good because that's not really the message I'm trying to deliver. But the point being people who are struggling with the game have a bunch of options to make it easier, but my goofy ass can't get a progression tracking checklist.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
What the fuck? I don't know, man. I know that there's a lot of criticism about games just being a checklist, but it's a roguelike. Like, it's by design a fucking checklist, so just give me a checklist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. I guess I kind of took it for granted in the second game because it just made so much sense for it to be there. But yeah, no, that's fucking weird actually.
I can't. I feel it's such a blatant missing thing to me that I feel like I just haven't found it somewhere, but I've trolled every fucking menu and I can't find the fucking thing. I don't know if I'm stupid or if it's not there and I'm mad about it or what. Like I hope that there's a comment on this somewhere. It's like, hey dumbass, it's this button, so I can just fucking find it because it's gotta be there, man. There's no way we're 5 years post launch and they didn't put a checklist in when there's features for every other like minor inconvenience into the goddamn game's son, you know?
Yeah, the only one that I've found so far, and granted, I don't really look into the accessibility settings a whole lot, just kind of in general, but I have seen that there is just like you open up the settings and at the top of it there is that God mode toggle you were talking about, which I really like. I think that's a good addition to have.
No,
I think an
I'm
easy
cool
mode
with
in
that.
games is like that. Sure, people just want to have fun sometimes. Like that's totally
I'm
fine.
gonna put a pin in that because I have opinions on that too. And since you brought it up, I'm gonna go over it. But finish your deal
Sure,
first.
sure. Yeah, I was just gonna say I think that having that's definitely a massive improvement that they made to the second game, and it feels so natural. And I guess I took it for granted that it genuinely surprises me that it's not a thing in the first game.
It, like I said, it seems like it should be there so blatantly that I have to just be missing it somewhere, but I can't find it. The only progression tracking I've found is that they have like blank hearts for the like relationship aspect of the game. But again, as my buddy had told me, they don't track every part of that encounter. They just track like the most basic part. So when you start getting to the end game where you're trying to trigger specific lines of fucking dialogue to progress to the epilogue, you just have to hope that you haven't found that one yet and that you find it. It doesn't tell you what god you're waiting on. It doesn't tell you anything like that. So he has been playing off and on the entire time I've been playing, but just trying to cram into to the epilogue while I've been chopping through from the beginning of the fucking game. We've both played. He's probably played a lot more than I have, to be fair, because I wake up in the morning to go to work and shit. But I've still played a lot. I mean, you brought it up to me when we talked about recording this episode. You're like, yeah, we're probably gonna talk about Hades, right? Because you've been playing that. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it was just crazy that he's put more time into it to me, just trying to get this last like 10% of the game done because it doesn't tell him what he needs. He's had to go through like IGN guides and figure out, oh, I don't think I've done that. Let me check.
Oh, that poor man.
Fucking nuts. It's ridiculous. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
And that shit
I
is why the game is like almost great to me, but is instead just good.
I think you will have a fantastic time with the second game. From what I've experienced so far, it solves all those problems. And I will grant you, I've only completed one run, so again, that's fucking nothing. There's so much more. But
I mean, I played every other Supergiant game, so I'm gonna play through Hades 2 regardless if it fixes my issues. Because despite all the rampant bitching, I think the game's worth playing regardless. They've never made a bad game, but um, I do hope it does, and I have a feeling that if I go to Hades 2, I'm never gonna go back, which is why I'm trying to put a pin in Hades to put the final nail in the Hades 1 coffin before I move on.
yeah, I will probably eventually pick up Hades 1, if nothing else than to get context for some of the bullshit happening in the second game.
It's just still worth playing, probably knowing how I don't know, like slightly different our opinions are. You'll probably enjoy it more than I do, anyways, because I'm just kind of a bitter old bastard.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
you know,
Okay, I want to clarify. I say bullshit affectionately because what the fuck, man? There's a lot happening in the second game. Uh,
I would imagine.
that I think would make a lot of sense if I understood the first game. Like
Yeah, probably.
I can get by if I get by with my basic understanding of Greek mythology, but like there's some details that I do not understand.
Um, but yeah, I do think it's really good regardless. Like I'm not saying it's a bad game. I wouldn't be forcing myself to finish it if I thought it was bad. I'm just fighting through a bunch of shit that wears up over time when you're playing for long play sessions. There's a lot of like I feel like I'm aimlessly fucking wandering right now. What's happening? Which sucks. And I know it's a roguelike, but usually the roguelike in every run you're feeling like you're working towards something, right?
Right.
Like, oh, this run was a complete wash, but at the end of the day, I know that I'm still a couple of steps closer to the goal of like finishing a run. But there's more to do in Hades than just finishing the run. And so there's times where you're not feeling that little incremental progress that you do in every run and every game you play. Even the harder roguelikes where there's less like, oh, you've unlocked a new upgrade. There's always that like, well, at least I know I'm getting better and I can recognize what I need to do to make the next run go better.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't think Hades
that's
has that kind of like inherent incremental roguelike progress in the same way. So there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I don't fucking know what the point of that run was.
that's the worst. Yeah, I that's something I've been really enjoying about Hades is sometimes like I'll get through the first level and I'll realize, okay, this run's going nowhere. I'm just going to gather resources. And even that feels rewarding because the resources are used to then have the next run go better. But like not having that does sound really annoying.
It's a pain in the ass for sure. Um, But still, game looks good, game sounds good, the voice acting's really good, the writing's wonderful, so worth it for that shit all alone.
True.
Uh, and I'm gonna pull that pin out from earlier real quick since you brought it up.
Sure.
Yeah, I think more games need that kind of like not every game because I do think there is merit to games that that kind of use the difficulty as a almost a method of like telling a story on like a player level. Like your progress is part of the story, your skill progression. But not every game is Dark Souls, not every game is Bloodborne, not every game is Elden Ring. And I do think if your game's not shooting for that, there is zero reason not to include a casual gamer mode, a mode that facilitates people who have like really bad like stress injuries on like wrists and stuff, just things that make the game like, yeah, we want as many people to play this as possible, obviously, especially with our big budget games. So let's include a casual mode that just eliminates some of the more difficult challenge, but lets you still kind of have fun and enjoy a story. I do like the way Hades does it, where it starts you at the same baseline, but as you have difficulty in an area, it's like, all right, here you go. We'll make it a little. Here's some stuff to make you stronger, while nothing else actually changes, and you can pop off.
Yeah, yeah, I think especially because like there's a lot of people who they just want to relax after a long day of work, and it's like I get Dark Souls stuff, right? Like that makes sense, but at the same time, not every game needs to be ball-bustingly hard. Like it can have an easy mode and still be just as good.
I think the exceptions to the games that I think should have a mode like this are a very short list. Um, and it is almost exclusively just like that genre, like the Souls-like genre and stuff like maybe like Ninja Gaiden, where that's part of the point. But the thing about those games, it's also kind of advertised that way, where it's like, yeah, this is probably not for you if you aren't going to be able for some reason to commit to this.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually that reminds me of one of the games I've been playing recently. It's a demo currently, but it's called Dead as Disco, and it's a rhythm
Mhm.
fighter, which is usually like one of the harder games out there because you have to like attack on rhythm, which is already kind of a challenge. Um, and I've been enjoying it because it has a high skill ceiling to be sure, but at the same time you can feel like a badass and be very offbeat. Like it still does a good job of that because the windows are very forgiving. Even if you click offbeat, you're still gonna hit people and it's not gonna like throw you off immediately. So it's the kind of situation where you can enjoy it and be like I've got a buddy, I love the guy, but he is terrible at anything rhythm based and he's been playing the hell out of that game. He's got more hours than I do at this point. And I think it's like stuff like that where it's like, you can play the game with these like lower difficulties and still enjoy it just as much. Maybe you're just playing it for the story. Like I know Baldur's Gate 3, I think it has a story difficulty.
It does, yeah.
Like especially I think story-rich games, it's almost like a requirement at a certain point because like after long enough after release, you're going to have people who the only reason they're still playing is to get every branch of the story. So they don't want to have to slog through the same combat for the 10th time. Um,
I did mostly think in regards to like your really fast-paced action games. You're already kind of putting yourself in a niche, so just being able to have this option that opens you up to whoever the fuck wants to play it is a good idea.
yeah, yeah, I think it's shooting yourself in the foot to not widen your market.
Yeah, outside of like very specific niches, yeah, by and large, there's just no reason not to. There's so many reasons people could benefit from that mode, replays, and if you got a lot of story, or if it's a game that's story heavy, so there's people who just want to experience the plot but don't really care about the gameplay or struggle with it for some reason. It just makes sense. Um, that's not to say I'm going to look at a game that doesn't have that and be like, "Oh, this game's ass," because I don't really care. Like, at the end of the day, it's the choice of the people who make it. And if they feel like there's some valid reason not to, whatever. But I think it's usually a misstep to not include something like that. Uh, but I like to. I have to check my accessibility options whenever I pick a game because I've got a couple of things that I have to turn off damn near immediately every time I start a game. Um, there is no motion blur for me or I die. No film grain for me or I die. Um,
Yeah, those I do get. I turn off motion blur on most games. There's a couple of there's like maybe two exceptions. I think I kept it on in like uh fuck. There's a few games where I keep it on, but that's only because it's designed to have that. I think Voices of the Void I keep it on. But yeah, I get having to turn that off. That makes
uh,
a lot of sense.
the film grain usually gives me a headache, and motion blur makes me very ill. I also have to turn my POV to at least 90 in damn near everything I play, especially if it's first person. FOV, not POV.
Yep, I get that entirely. I used to be the kind of guy where I just rocked basic FOV settings and then I turned it up to like I think I keep mine around like 95 to 100 and my first thought was holy fuck, my eyes don't hurt playing this.
Yeah. I've got bad eyesight, so I don't have to strain my fucking eyes as much if I have that wider FOV. My buddy Harold puts that shit to like 115 whenever we're playing a shooter, and I'm like, what the fuck? Hold on.
Brother's
That's
eyes are in two
crazy.
different directions.
What the fuck, dude?
I
Um,
get the strategic reason why, but I feel like at a certain point it stops mattering.
there's a noticeable difference. I think I thought it was crazy. I think we were playing Repo or something, and he's like, "Yeah, keep my FOV at like 115," and I'm like, "What the
On
fuck? Oh my
Repo,
god!" Yeah,
bro is corner peeking the fucking shotgun guy. What?
yeah, basically. Uh, the funnest thing about Mr. Shotgun Guy is when you're all hiding under a table and trying to make each other laugh to see who dies first.
It's even better when you're not even trying. Like it's just like the simple hilarity of the situation makes everybody start laughing.
Also, I gotta have subtitles because uh I don't listen very good sometimes, which isn't exactly a accessibility thing for me, but is like a sometimes I get distracted. Sometimes my fucking selective hearing kicks in out of its own volition. I don't know, man.
That's
But
totally understandable.
sometimes I just misunderstand a sentence until I've read it.
Yeah.
Also, read very, very quickly. So sometimes I read a subtitle before the character started saying the line, and I'm like, okay,
No, I love that,
cool.
especially when there's like a cutoff halfway through the sentence.
You're like, oh, something's about to happen.
Yeah, something's about to happen. Either someone else is gonna butt in or this motherfucker's about to get shot. Like there is no in between.
uh, but I gotta have subtitles. I think it's like a almost like a focus thing. Like it helps me pay attention to the story more if I just have like a oh, I'm gonna read this fucking line.
Yeah,
I don't. It doesn't
I
really make sense to me either, but it is just a thing I've done for a long time.
yeah. The issue I have like I also have subtitles on in basically any game that can have them. My only issue with it is that sometimes it gets to a point where like I read ahead of the dialogue and I skip it just instinctively, like to get to the next part, and then I think, oh fuck, wait, I wanted to listen to that voice acting actually.
But I actually think it's done me favors in my like interpreting of stories to kind of get to read the line as they're saying it and I don't know, kind of formulate my thoughts uh as it's going. I don't know. I think it's partially just a byproduct of like me reading a lot when I was in school. So my brain really likes to process information that way, even though I definitely have been struck by the like reading stamina problem where I actually sit down to read a real book anymore.
Yeah, I fuck with that heavy actually. That's real.
I because of how old because of when I went to school and my age, uh I read a lot, and then suddenly I had a cell phone and my reading stamina went down a lot because I've got this stupid fucking device in my pocket. Uh and I have yet to recover from that scourge. And I've been out of school for a while.
I'm still in school, and I can confirm.
I'm just talking like K through 12.
Oh yeah, no, I'm out of that.
I know you're we wouldn't be doing this if your ass was still in fucking high school, buddy. Um,
Yeah.
the cause it was probably up until like 11th grade because I had phones before that point, but they weren't like they were cheap, like just so I could contact my mom if I needed to, kind of things. Um, and then like my junior year of high school, I got like a real like actually usable cell phone, like smartphone. And that's about the time my reading years started to waver off, and then I graduated high school and became a full-on hermit for a while, and have not recovered from that as far as my like stamina of reading. Where like sitting down to read long sessions of reading is really fucking hard now. I just get really distracted because I haven't built that stamina back up from sitting down to read. Meanwhile, through all of like high school and stuff, I was slamming through entire novels in like a couple days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just kind of I have subtitles on because I need to read things often in order to be able to hear them, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't like audiobooks, but I do like reading along with audiobooks.
I've never listened to an audiobook. I don't really know why. It just hasn't been a thing I've done. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I have to keep telling myself I'm gonna have this goal where I like try to chop through like a book every like 2 months or something, and I have not committed to it yet. Mostly because I have to go to the library and update my library card, and that's scary.
If only we knew someone who knew how to update library cards.
Yeah, if only I lived in a different state and someone could just update my library card for me. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? But I don't know. Going and speaking to an individual in a building about updating my library card sounds pretty fucking spooky to me. So I haven't done it yet.
Fair
And
enough.
then I'd have to go like, what book do I want to read? I don't know. I haven't read books in a long fucking time, which is also why when I run a new RPG, I skim the rules and then we figure it out. We ball. I learned by doing because reading hard.
True. Yeah, I don't read a whole lot of like books anymore. I've got a lot of them. I just don't read a whole lot of them anymore because usually my free time is either uh D&D or uh I guess tabletop because I don't play any D&D games currently. But I like either tabletop or gaming, and that's it. Um, I also have access to a friend who has a like an entire library of virtual books that he just lets me use. Uh,
I really never liked. I had a Kindle at one point. That was the closest I ever got to liking to read digitally. I just really like having a fucking book in my hand if I'm gonna read something.
that's so fair. It
Which
does
is
hit
why
way different.
which is why everyone's like, oh, why should you buy a digital copy of this tabletop since you want to run it so bad? It's like, fuck you. I want a book. I want to hold it. I want to have the tome of knowledge in my hand.
You can contemplate the tome.
Contemplate the tome, dude. Um. Anyway, besides Hades, I've been playing Persona 3 Reload.
Oh, okay, that's one of the series where I keep hearing incredible reviews of it, and then I just never get around to actually playing it.
Okay. Big ass lore drop here. Those in the gaming groups we're playing, listening to this, write it down because it'll be on the test later. Persona 3, on the PS2, uh, Persona 3 FES specifically, was for most of my like teenage and young adult life my favorite video game of all time.
Huh.
Uh, and then my opinions kind of morphed into like recognizing the things I didn't like about the gameplay as much. So it was still my favorite game ever, but it was always a this is my favorite game ever with an asterisk because it's this is my favorite game, but here's all the shit that's gonna suck.
Right.
And then they made this remake and basically improved on every complaint I possibly could have had, and have just made the definitive version of this video game. Uh, even though they replaced the old voice crew, uh, the new cast does an incredible job, and all the old cast still have smaller roles, and from what I understand, helped a lot with voice direction with the new cast to kind of help them like find their portrayal of these characters. So all that stuff's above board. There's gameplay changes from future games in this. That's a weird sentence. There's gameplay game elements from games that came out after the original version of 3 that they implemented into this remake that bring it up to a standard that you would expect an RPG to be at that the original just didn't have. Um, Plus, it looks great and sounds great, and the music's wonderful. So it's basically back to being my favorite game of all time. And again, I just enjoy playing it even more than I used to. It used to be my favorite game because I had a personal connection with it, and I like the story. It's one of the better stories I've ever played in an RPG, in my opinion. But I had to play the game, which is the downside. Now that's not a downside anymore.
Hell yeah.
I'm very big into that series. I know you've seen them. There's a tattoo on my left arm. Uh, it's like a face, and half the face is shaded in black, and half the face is not shaded in at all.
Right.
That's from Persona 3.
Well, that's cool.
And
I've
then I've
I've been
got
thinking about getting
a
some of the
Persona 5
tattoos like
tattoo.
that. Oh, what's the Persona 5 tattoo?
It's the one on my right hand. It's the top hat with the fire that isn't done yet because
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
broke.
No, that's cool as hell. Yeah, I've been thinking about
Oh.
getting a couple of tattoos for games that I enjoy. I just haven't settled on any yet, but no, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, no, I'm a strong supporter of tattoos as a good way to express yourself, and also, uh, it is one of those things that weirdly fills the void of technically being self-destructive, but doesn't actually really have any lasting consequences in a negative fashion. So, if you've got certain problems, it kind of alleviates the issue in a temporary manner while you're seeking additional help.
Yeah, yeah. I
That being said, I don't recommend it as a replacement for therapy, but it helped me find a calm for a long time.
Yeah, I just have a lot of empty space that I think would look a lot better with a tattoo on it.
Yeah, also as a fellow pasty white man, it adds a certain degree of color to your skin that you won't find in another way, especially if you don't tan like I don't.
Oh, no, I burn like a motherfucker. My Scandinavian
Uh,
heritage does not help me at all.
uh, you've seen all the ones I have, and they add just kind of a character to my arms, and I guess the rest of me too. But not very many people see the one on my back or the back of my neck or my legs.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. Sorry, that's actually segues very nicely into what we were gonna talk about second, which was like good fun memories we have with gaming because it's Thanksgiving season. Uh
Ironically, Persona 3's in that list, so I'll get to spit more shit here in a minute.
oh hell yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the ones I was thinking about getting was a an N7 tattoo on my back. Like on the shoulders. That'd be one of the later ones I get because I know that shit hurts like a motherfucker. But
Uh, oh, the most painful tattoo I ever got is the one on my back, which is like right under my shoulder, like above my ribs. Oh my god.
yeah, yeah. This one, it's less because I like the character that it would be replicating. I can't even remember the motherfucker's name, but
That Vegas tattoo?
yeah, Vegas tattoo. It's less because I like the character. He's okay, like maybe,
He's
but
fine.
yeah, he's an okay character. It's just like
I like his role in the third game.
yeah, I like
I
his
think he's
role.
got an
He's
important play.
just
I think he's got an important place in that game's cast. He's just not my favorite guy.
no, yeah, he has an important
My
role to be
husband's right over
sure.
there.
True, yeah, he has an important role. It's just that compared to everybody else, it's like you kind of got added too late, my guy. Like, I'm
He's
sorry.
kind of just a human who's there.
Yeah, but like it's Mass Effect 3 is my favorite game of the series, so I just really want to get that. And then I was thinking maybe also a Reaper tattoo on my arm would be cool.
I want to get the Paragon and Renegades on like left to right hand.
Oh, dude, that would be sick as hell.
There was going to be on my wrist originally, but I got a tattoo recently to cover up a scar on my left hand, and it went up to my wrist, so I had to throw that plan out. So I got to figure out where I'm going to put it. If I hadn't filled
Gotcha.
my hands up already, I could have left and right hand, but alas.
No, that's cool. That's actually a sick idea. I might have to steal
Uh,
that.
no, because I definitely want. I definitely want Mass Effect on here somewhere.
Yeah, Mass Effect, that was the game that really put me onto single player games. Because like one of the first like proper games I played, because I dabbled with like Wii Sports when I was a kid with my dad, but the first real game that I played was Destiny 1. And then I played Halo 4, and then I went back and played the rest of the series, and then it was really all online games like Call of Duty, Halo, all of those ones up until I played Mass Effect. And then I played Mass Effect and was like, holy fuck, single player games are awesome, actually.
Don't need friends.
Yeah, I don't need friends. I can have my funny alien homies. Um, But yeah, it's by far my favorite game of all time. I'm a sucker for anything sci-fi, and the aesthetic of Mass Effect is wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I love Warhammer, but holy fuck, sometimes I just want a slightly whimsical sci-fi universe. Um, and
True.
there's also just the characters. It has probably the biggest homie in gaming, in my opinion. My boy Garrus, love that guy.
That's my husband right there.
Um, And if you couldn't tell by the avatar I am using for this entire fucking podcast, I love the Quarians just as a whole.
True.
Um,
It's ironic that I shit talk 5e as much as I do, given that I use a tiefling for this. But whatever.
well, I mean, to be fair, I feel like most fantasy systems have like a demonkin of some kind. I don't think that's exclusive.
No, but it's very funny, especially given that tiefling aren't even really my favorite like go-to race. Really, I don't know how this happened. Like I like them a lot, but I've got others I like more. Anyway, yeah, Mass Effect's up there for me as well, just in the terms of personal games, because I think I've even mentioned it here before, but I played those fuckers as they came out, more or less. I think I probably played one a little after it came out because I was probably locked in on Halo 3 still when one came out,
Right.
but I played it before 2 came out and was like, oh shit, and then locked the fuck in for the next couple of games. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
just in terms of like watching that evolve, has a personal place in my heart, but it is less so than some of the other examples I've got.
Yeah, Mass Effect for me, I first encountered it when I was in a Goodwill with my mom and I saw it on the shelf and I was like, "Oh, hey, that looks fun." And my mom, bless her heart, her first instinct was to grab me and spin me around and say no. Uh and then flash forward like 9 years and I see Legendary Edition on Steam and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I should pick that up."
Man, that's so wild to me. Not that story, but like it just clicked in my head that like you're technically still having these foundational experiences with video games, and I, don't really anymore. My foundations have already been formed.
Yeah, yeah, that's fuck, that's weird.
It fucking slapped the shit out of me just now. Like I'm like, oh, Legendary Edition came out. That wasn't that long ago, and then I just like the camera hits a wide lens. I realize, oh yeah,
Bro hit
he's
that
he's
Kubrick
he
stare.
he's still young enough that in like 4 or 5 years he'll be thinking back on things he was doing now and be like, yeah, that was foundational for me because I'm thinking back to things I was doing when I was like late teens, early 20s, and being like, yeah, that shit was foundational because I'm closing in on 30.
I just
But
know. I just know M just face palmed. Oh my god, I can already see it.
old.
Yeah, yeah, it's man, I love Mass Effect so much. I think the other
There
like sci-fi thing that was pretty foundational for me, and you're gonna cringe at this one, was Destiny.
we go.
The first game was my first experience with an actual online game. And the second game was how I met most of my current online friends, like the people I regularly play games with. Um, and I think that game ended at the final shape, and everything after that has been not real. Fuck you, Bungie.
Bungie hasn't made a real video game since 2011. I'm sorry.
That's fair. No, that's a fair assessment.
But you know what?
I
I will say that meeting one of your predominant group of friends on Destiny is a lot better of a story than how we met our other predominant group of friends. Where I still got to find a good cover story to explain how I know you fuckers because the real one sucks.
yeah, yeah, no, that's oh fuck. I'm trying to think back to how I think it was I saw a post on the Mass Effect 5e Discord,
Yeah,
and then I think it kind of just went
probably.
from there.
Yep. I sent out posts in a couple discords and I went to LFG on Reddit, and that's how I ended up with a bunch of you fuckers.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. God, that was like I don't like that. That was too long ago. Anyway, you were gonna talk about some of the games that you found pretty foundational.
Yeah. And none of these, I don't know, some of these probably aren't going to come as a surprise, but we'll go over the obvious ones first. Uh, Halo's huge. I play a lot on my own, but the reason it's huge to me is that wasn't like the first thing I played with my dad, and I guess that's like asterisk because a whole bunch of family history shit, but my dad is like my adopted dad. So whatever I've heard of my dad, it's like a family of choice.
Right.
Um, but when especially this is even at a time when my biological father was still kind of around a little bit. Uh, but me and my actual dad, the guy I call my dad, we played through Halo. All we played at this point we played all of them up to four. It's been damn near a decade since we've gotten to sit down and play Halo together. But for a long, long time, we played through all of them, and we played through all of them multiple times when I was still in school. And I would go over and see him like on the weekends and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was a regular occurrence. Be like, well, what Halo game are we gonna chip through today? And we'd be like, all right, well, let's play through this one. So I've just got so many memories of just like me and him cramming warthogs in the places they are definitely not supposed to be, and
Uh-huh.
finding funny ways to solve like, oh well, we're gonna go jump on the Scarab in Halo 2. What goofy shit can we do to make it fun this time? And uh, even before the game came out on Steam, I've probably got somewhere in the hundreds of hours spent over, you know, my life playing through Halo with him. Uh, I thought you posted that because I'm posted in chat. That's crazy.
No.
um, I don't even really have specific ones that stand out in my mind. It's just the idea that I know that we did a lot of that, and there's so many things that I picked up playing through Halo just from like playing through with my dad, um, that I still do. The way I fucking bounce everywhere because I was a child when I first played that, so my that jump button was my best friend in the world.
Right, right.
All the fact that I can fucking recite Halo 2 to you as I play it. You know how much Halo 2 played with my dad? That game came out, and we played it when it came out, and we played it over and over and over until Halo 3 came out. And we played that a couple times, we played that over and over, and then we'd go back to Halo 2 and keep playing it. Um,
Yeah, I remember when
so,
we were playing that the Halo tabletop game, you had
mhm,
like a notebook full of quotes from the Gravemind.
mhm. Yeah, he's got a lot of good lines. Most of his good lines are in Halo 3, ironically. But playing Halo 1 through 3 in particular stand out here because after Halo 3, I started moving around a lot and it was a lot harder to do that. But then when I moved back to my hometown, we started doing the same stuff and we played all the ones that we didn't get to play together, like Reach and 4. And then we would keep replaying the ones we liked all through high school, all through me being in high school. Uh, and now I'm an adult and it's hard to sit down and play a 5 hour video game with my dad. But
Right.
uh, those memories are core to the point like I've got the Halo 2 tattoo and you guys sneeze about Halo and I'm like, oh, I'll lock the fuck in. Let me tell you about Halo.
True.
So most of my predominant experiences with Halo are in that context, and like, yeah, I played it on my own, I played it online, I did all this stuff, but that was all auxiliary to like these are my core Halo memories.
Yeah, my first experience with Halo was playing Halo 4 on my Xbox 360 because that was I saved up every fucking nickel and dime I had to get myself a 360. And then a buddy of mine brought over Halo 4 and we just played that for hours. And I have heard since that it's not the best game in the series, but I'm so incredibly nostalgia tinted that it's hard for me to see that.
It's got a good story.
Yeah.
Um, that one stands out to me that way. Uh, but you got anything else you want to throw out there before I go on my Persona 3 tangent?
Um. I mean, I've already mentioned Destiny. It's not a huge one for me. I guess the only other one that's like really foundational for me was Stellaris, really. I'm a sucker for most of the Paradox games. Some of them aren't really to my taste, but Stellaris, I was sitting in a VC with some friends and they were all playing it, and they said, "Hey, you should try this out. I think you'd like it." And then they bought it for me, and I have sunk an ungodly amount of hours into that game. It's my Minecraft in that like I'll get the urge to play it, I'll pick it up and play it nonstop for like a week, and then I won't play it for a month or maybe more. It's
Fair.
been a while. Um, but something about number go up, border get bigger, meet new friends is very appealing to my sci-fi brain. Uh, but yeah, that was really the only other one that was like super foundational. There's some other ones I like, obviously, but that was the big one.
I've got a few things I could go over, but since I teased it already, Persona 3 is huge for me. The first time I played it, I had just moved back to my hometown. I was functionally homeless. I was just bouncing between like, I'll stay here for the night. I'll stay here for the night. Oh, we've rented a temporary place where the lease is like 2 months and then we'll be kicked out again. So I was never in like a one place for very long.
Hmm.
Um, Besides, like, I would go to my dad's on the weekend and hang out there, or I'd stay there for a while because we didn't have anywhere particular to stay, or I didn't want to stay at my grandpa's house for that week for whatever reason. But I did have a PS2, and it went with me everywhere. A bunch of PS2 games, and I borrowed from a cousin, not the one that is in the RPG server, but a cousin on my dad's side. Um, he had a copy of Persona 3, and I was hanging out with him at one point when I had first gotten back, and then he showed me the game, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. I'll have to try to find a copy of this for cheap." And he was like, I barely play it. You could borrow mine." Like, okay, shit. And I borrowed it, and I no lifed it for the entirety of the summer, and then some because I didn't register for that year of school until late for reasons I don't entirely remember. And then I continued to no life it, and I obsessed over it until I was probably like 17. That game pretty single-handedly carried me through staying sane through like intense agoraphobia and intense homelessness and or not intense homelessness through a period of homelessness and intense agoraphobia and depression and because of the circumstances I was in, that game's themes did a lot to kind of speak to me at that point in time. Um, it was also a point in time when I did have a lot of friends, especially in my hometown. A lot of people I talked to are people I talked to online. That's why a lot of my closest circles are people that I talk to on like Discord, and I only have a handful of friends in the town I live in,
Right.
because I just built those friendships foundationally uh, online, and they're the ones I have. And I got friends in person, but it's just not where my like core friendship groups were for a long time. Um, so that game's themes of like it's got themes of like death and hard times and overcoming them with personal relationships and stuff like that. And it was like, hey, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right here, right now. So it hit for a 13-year-old who was struggling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Um, and then I got old enough where I was like, oh, these gameplay problems are kind of pissing me off. So I took a break from it for a long time. And then I have, when I was like 18, 19, uh, I put myself on a mission to sit down and play the entire game for one of my best friends, who was also in this server. He has unfortunately since passed away. Um, so I sat down and I showed him like 2/3 of the game, and then we got distracted and never finished it, and I can't finish it for him now. So I got that additional core memory on top of it, and then this remake came out, and it's like, oh, this is just what I wanted the game to always be.
I love when that happens. That's always so nice.
It's like I was ride or die for this game for so goddamn long. Here I am.
Yeah, it's my so I had a friend back in middle school who was just obsessed with the Persona games, and he and we were pretty good friends. And it was the kind of thing where like he was trying to convince me to play it. I was like, I don't want to play that right now because I was still in my like Halo Call of Duty phase. Uh, and eventually, like I was considering it, and then I moved literally across the entire country, and we just kind of stopped interacting. So I'll probably play it eventually. I just haven't had the urge to.
I'd
But
recommend it.
yeah,
The remake's on Steam. It's real good. It fixes all the problems that a kid like you wouldn't be able to appreciate overlooking. Um, and uh, I think it's good enough and streamlined enough that it could probably give you an appreciation for the genre entirely. Uh, so I would recommend it. And we got a Steam sale coming up soon, so maybe it'll just end up in your lap and I'll force you to play it. I don't know.
just hold me at gunpoint.
So yeah, play it, motherfucker. See what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I feel like, funnily enough, like Claire Obscure that just came out this last year, is gonna be that for a lot of people, uh, of like the younger generation, or a lot of people who didn't play JRPG styled games, I should say. Uh, one like the same time I did, because I played a lot of them, mostly because I played Persona 3 and got into the genre. But I think Claire Obscure is probably like the equivalent of that for a lot of people.
I suspect so. Yeah. Um, for me, the closest thing to that was actually Baldur's Gate 3. Um, it's like the game itself was good, and I played through it once just on a regular playthrough. I was like, oh, that was okay. And then I played through it once with a Dark Urge, and I have bipolar, and it results in a lot of really bad intrusive thoughts and things like that. And so playing through the Dark Urge storyline at a time when I didn't know what I had was really impactful. Um, and that I mean, I haven't played a whole lot of JRPG or RPG to that style of game at least. Um, but just like the overall storytelling in Baldur's Gate 3 and a lot of the themes that especially the Dark Urge storyline explores were really impactful. Um, and that one, it's I have a lot less of like out of game connection as far as like oh, playing through it with friends. I never get more than halfway through Act One playing that game with other people. um, but I think it is also kind of going to be that for a lot of people, maybe to a smaller audience, but it is really impactful. um, I mean, obviously it won Game of the Year, but uh,
It's also a contender for best ongoing support this year, which is crazy.
yeah, that's I love the game. I think No Man's Sky has got to sweep that one, unfortunately.
No Man's Sky has gotten that award like 8 times.
Yeah, and they keep earning it.
Put him down. Take old Yeller out back.
I feel like at a certain point, it's like, listen, we can give you more money. Please just let us pay you for some of these free updates you're releasing.
Look, can we just give No Man's Sky the lifetime award for ongoing support, and then let other people get that spot? Because yeah, I get it. You're making the game good. I honestly think you paid your pound of flesh and then some.
Yeah, no, for real. I Speaking of Clair Obscur and Game Awards, actually, have you seen that it is the most nominated game in history?
Yeah, I voted for it. I don't even really give a shit about the Game Awards, but my ass was not letting fucking Death Stranding 2 come in there and win any fucking awards over Claire Obscure. Fuck you.
Yeah, the only gripe that I really had with it was saying that it was an indie game. Like that was the only thing that I don't think it necessarily earned because it had like a $30 million budget.
Uh, but it was independently sourced.
That's fair. Yeah, I just
They
think it's a
don't have like a major backer. They don't have like an Ubisoft. They do have a publisher, but a lot of indie games pay for a publisher too.
yeah, that is fair. I just feel like it's a little unfair to put it on the same level as some of the other games that were there, which I don't recall offhand, but
Hades too.
well, okay, yeah, that's fair. Uh
Uh,
oh,
I
sorry,
think there is
speaking
probably a step between like I think indie's just a bad term because all indie means is independent, like independently produced. There's no Ubisoft, there's no EA, there's no big major corporation. Uh, but there's definitely a budget here that they did have to go source like investors for, which I think is that makes it seem. I mean, these motherfuckers got Hollywood actors in here.
right, yeah. Did you hear, by the way, I don't know if this game is at all on your radar, but the game Megabonk?
I'm familiar with it. That the dev withdrawing it is kind of the biggest like big dick energy move, to be honest.
Honestly, did you hear what? Do you know why he did it?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of
He's
an explanation for the people who don't know who are listening. But basically, the dev for Megabonk, it was a new like account pseudonym that he'd made, and he's actually released a bunch of other games that have all done pretty well. And Megabonk was just like an experiment to see if he could still make it big with a different account.
pretty
Uh,
fucking big.
and proceeded to make proceeded to get nominated at the Game Awards. So you know,
But yeah, no. So yeah, that was huge for me. And I mean, there's a good several like multiplayer games I could bring up. As like, yeah, I play a lot of this, but I think those two probably stand like head and above as two big examples of like, hey, these are the foundational experiences I've had.
yeah,
Uh,
man, I'm just thinking back. Destiny, I think Destiny is where I started to really love like sci-fi in general. And I get that it's a bit of a weird sci-fi because it's got fucking space magic and whatnot, but like,
brother, the Force.
yeah, that's true. I just Destiny has a very special place because it was the game that I bought with my Xbox 360. Um, and I played through all of that on the same character. I played through it single player. I like Destiny 1, I didn't really interact with a whole lot of people. And then I got my Xbox One and I started playing Destiny 2. And I played through that with the exact same character. I spent like 2 hours switching between the games to make sure I had the exact appearance of my character. Uh, and then just playing through that with some folks who I met, playing through all the DLCs, all that kind of stuff, and it was probably, I mean, I already said that's where I met a lot of my current online friends, but it's also just like I started playing that when I was 10, so that's 9 years of history there, and I think that's definitely a big part of it. Uh, and it ended with Final Shape, and there was nothing after that.
The game's over.
Yep,
They canceled Destiny.
true.
They've they've canceled the whole thing. There's no more Destiny.
It was the we're so back, and then immediately followed by it's so over. Which actually reminds me something I wanted to bring up: Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily foundational because I feel like I've already played a lot of that type of game, but a friend of mine brought it up the other day, and I think it makes a lot of sense that like Helldivers 2 is kind of becoming like I guess the Halo of this next generation. Like and in terms of impactfulness and setting and all that kind of thing. Like I don't know if I've seen another property take that big of a chunk of like the gaming community and I mean cosplays, art, like actual
I
propaganda.
I can kind of agree. I can also kind of disagree in a lot of respects, but I do think the community aspect is probably there. I don't know if it's so like the thing about Halo is that it came out in a transitional period in the genre it's in, and then shaped that genre for the next half a decade plus in a lot of respects. Um, and I don't think Helldivers is going to have that impact exactly.
Uh okay, I'll agree that they're different genre. Well, there's different like gameplay genres to be sure. But I think in terms of live service games, we kind of do live in a time when like live service gaming is the thing, and Helldivers is
That's
kind of like the
kind of
epitome
what
of
I'm
that.
saying, though. Helldivers came into a genre and perfected existing tropes in a lot of ways, existing elements of this genre already. Halo defined the genres that other games went on to try to perfect, is I think the difference.
That's very fair. I do see that.
Helldivers came in and saw this genre and did it very well based on what was already kind of codified out of that genre. Halo came in. I mean, Halo comes out in 2001, right? Combat Evolved. You're coming off of, Doom was in the early 90s and it traveled to like Quake and that kind of, what we call them now boomer shooters, but at the time we're just shooters. Your Quakes and your Blood and Duke Nukem, that kind of thing. The certain style of arcadey shooter. And Halo comes out in 2001 when shooters are trying to accustom properly to the next generation of consoles and different play styles and kind of simplifying in a lot of respects, but also um, just, accounting for things that are different now that consoles are trying to match PC in terms of shooters and stuff. So Halo comes in and basically defines like console shooters as a fucking genre. I mean, that series was the console shooter. I think the first thing that maybe majorly competed with that spot is like Call of Duty 4, which
Yeah,
came out 3 games into Halo.
right, right.
And before that, you had like Call of Duty 1 and 2, which were definitely like PC centric. And in fact, they had to be basically there weren't true PC or console versions of Call of Duty 1 and 2. They were just like spin-offs that were tied to the originals. And then Call of Duty 3 was kind of ass, so whatever. So you have Combat Evolved that took the genre and defined it in a whole new direction, whereas Helldivers, well, very good and definitely has an impact in terms of fan base, in terms of people who are invested in it. I don't think it's defining this third-person shooter or wave toward the fence or even the live service model in any particular way, because everything they're doing is just a more consumer-friendly version of things that were already being done.
Yeah, that's a fair distinction. I don't I think unfortunately it's kind of difficult to define any genre at this point because it's kind of all already been done. Uh,
Yeah,
but I do think that it is the most interactive and user-friendly version of it to have come out so far.
I
Um,
agree that it will have an impact. I just don't know if it's a comparable impact in terms of what that impact will mean. I
yeah,
think what we're going to see is a long-lasting, die-hard Helldivers fan base that will carry probably to a point where that game turns into a different, like, in like 10 years, where there's like a Helldivers 3 or the game keeps changing perpetually for who knows how long, and this fan base is just ride or die for it for fucking whatever, however long, as opposed to kind of changing the landscape because it is really hard to change the landscape. I think the closest I've seen us get in anywhere in the past probably like 5 or 6 years is probably like I think Baldur's Gate 3 proved a good point and definitely is changing the perspective on that style of RPG, and I think Clear Obscure is probably the closest we're getting to that in terms of a different style of RPG. And even then, they aren't really defining a genre so much as defining that a genre is still achievable.
yeah, yeah. I think at this point in like gaming as a whole, unless we see fucking like full dive VR, or well, not even really that, because like to an extent, Half-Life Alyx kind of defined a lot of VR stuff.
Yeah, Valve once again. Valve comes in and defines the shooter genre for with new technology. Thank you, Valve.
Thank you, Valve. Can't wait to see Half-Life 3 soon, right? Surely. I'm
I'll,
sure it'll
I'll
happen.
I'll believe it when it's in my hands.
I listen, man. I was suspicious, and then have you seen the Steam thing where if you look on Valve's like production page, there's two upcoming games and only one of them is listed?
Yeah.
Like I was suspicious, but I'm a believer. I think it'll happen. I'm not coping, I
I
swear.
I am not unconvinced that they're making a game. I just think it's probably a more thematic follow up to Alex than it is anything Half-Life 2 set up.
Yeah, and to be fair, I saw a post that made a pretty good point that they already announced Half-Life 3. At the end of Half-Life Alex, they basically look you in the eye and say, "We are making Half-Life 3, or the next
I,
Half-Life at least."
I I think people are under this misconception that we're going to get a game labeled Half-Life 3, and I don't think we are. I
No.
just think we're going to see that plot train wrapped up in their VR continuations of the Alex storyline, because the whole point of that was them saying like, "Hey, we're gonna keep telling the story, but it's not gonna be 3. All right, you're gonna get your follow up here."
Yeah, I feel like the Half-Life 3, I think we might get a VR game where we play as Gordon because
I wouldn't be surprised.
like they gave you the crowbar at the end of Alex. I see no reason why they wouldn't capitalize on that, especially them being Valve. Um,
I think they're probably just looking because Valve's Valve, and well, they want to release a game. They aren't going to release a game unless they have something landmark with it. And I think that that landmark thing is for them now focusing in on VR instead of. I think from their perspective, the traditional hardware has reached whatever zenith it's going to reach, and they're probably right to a certain respect. So they're taking that approach of adding something landmark to VR. So whatever story continuation we get is going through that respect. I wouldn't be surprised if a variation, though heavily edited, of the proposed story for Half-Life 3 is what we see over the course of probably a couple of the next VR titles over the next like 15 years.
Probably, especially given that one of the big pieces of hardware they're releasing is their standalone VR headset.
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if half of the I don't want to say struggle, but half of the focus was just finding a way to get something like a crowbar to feel fluid, because they have a lot of physics activity in Alex, but it's just a little floaty and a little awkward, and and a lot of it's like you can use like the items to hit enemies, but you don't really do damage. You're just kind of like rumbling the enemy while you get your gun ready. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were just trying to find a way to get real feedback from like melee combat in VR, because there's a lot of cool melee VR games, but the feedback's never there.
No, yeah, I think the closest one that I've because I used to have a VR before I went off to college and I gave it to my brother, but I like the closest thing I've encountered, I think, is a game called Hellsplit, and that one only really works because it plays into the fact that you're a giga strong, can cut through anything superhuman.
Yeah, I just think finding, because when you're playing on a mouse and keyboard, you can use the sound effects and the kind of the visual effects to simulate like the proper feedback, or whatever. The VR, it immerses you on a different level, and the visuals just hit different. That your body reacts differently to what you're seeing when it's in that format. And so not having physical fucking feedback is super jarring.
Okay, actually, now I'm thinking about it. I think, ironically, the best melee VR combat I've ever encountered was in, and I want you to take this with many grains of salt, a heavily modded Skyrim VR playthrough that I did.
You know what game I think has the best melee combat in a VR game I played?
Sure.
Beat Saber.
That's so fair, actually.
That game somehow nails fucking feedback with my quote unquote melee weapons.
Yeah, no,
I feel it when I hit that block.
that's a good point, actually. I hadn't considered that as an option, but no, you're just kind of correct, actually.
Like that's what I want when I'm smacking a zombie with a fucking crowbar in Half-Life VR 2. I want that same feeling as when I crush one of those blocks with my saber.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
even really know. I don't even really know how to explain how you feel it, because you don't feel it, but god damn it, you feel it.
yeah. Another decent thing they could take some influence from, because this game had a lot of flaws, I think, is the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners game.
Yeah.
That one
Well,
had some pretty good melee combat. The gunplay was
that
not
game
great, but
that
the
game's just cool because, oh god damn it, they sure did try. Like they were just seeing if they could make it work, and I think
It's
They hit
good.
more than they miss, but the misses are notable.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just that there's enough like kind of misses that it's just kind of eh.
I think that game's most interesting in reference to its, I guess, like air quotes stealth.
Yeah,
When you're like tiptoeing around the zombies and just kind of knife. All right, moving on. I think that's where that game shines the most.
yeah, it does a really good job of making you feel like you're in a zombie apocalypse. It's just that at a certain point it can get a little annoying.
Uh, I think that game shines almost for the same reasons as like I think Valve's taking so much time for like a continuation. Um, you don't really have to worry about physical feedback as much when your kills are quick and kind of you stab the zombie and you get him in the head and you move on.
Right.
But like you're swinging a crowbar in a Half-Life game, you're beating something to death with it. This is a prolonged process, and swinging your arm wildly. I mean, the Nintendo Wii had the same problem with a lot of its beat 'em up games where you didn't really feel it. They had the rumble, but when you're swinging your arm, you don't get a resistance.
Yeah, yeah, and it is definitely difficult to replicate. I mean, think doing this would be shooting themselves in the foot without a doubt, but I feel like to a certain extent it would be better if the crowbar was just to break objects.
Nah, this is Valve. They're gonna figure it out.
I'm sure they will. Yeah, they are like
Valve's
one of the only devs that I have unconditional faith in figuring things out.
Valve's whole shtick the entire time they've existed is that their story is not secondary in terms of telling their story, but the story is not as important as it is for them to push the envelope of hardware and software. So the story will sit on the back burner until they've decided that what advancements they've made are worth sending out there.
Yeah, and
By and large, there's a
it
couple of exceptions, but like even Portal was like, "Ooh, look at this cool gameplay element we can expand on."
right, and I think it really does like most of their at least recent games. I say recent in air quotes. Most of their recent games have been in conjunction with big like things in gaming, like
Yeah.
in hardware. Like you had
Alex
half,
itself corresponds with the early versions of the Index.
yeah, yeah. There's the Index. There's the oh fuck. There was what's their most Deadlock. Deadlock. I don't think it's. I mean, it's not full released yet, but like that was their first real new property in a while. And I'm realizing I don't think that one was in conjunction with a hardware release, but like a lot of their
No,
bigger titles have been in conjunction with a hardware release.
I don't know enough about Deadlock to speak one way or the other. I mean, not everything they release is literally going to correspond with something. I'm not even sure I consider that a big release. I think that was a intended small release that caught more attention.
Probably. I mean, I've played a little, like a very little bit of it. It's a fun enough game. It's not my kind of game, so I'm not going to speak a whole lot on it, but it's fun enough.
From my perspective, that was probably just a thing they were doing and didn't really expect it to hit, but it hit. So they're going all in on it, I think. But I'm thinking like big releases like Half-Life One was a big exploration of the whole structure they've come to perfect of like telling their stories this way and using their gameplay to tell the stories. So it's not literally a hardware change, but I think it is a big improvement on like engine work and getting their engine to where they want it to be. Half-Life 2 corresponds with a new version of their existing engine. So there's a whole host of like physics changes there and stability changes there, and then the Portal games are a whole new gameplay element that they have to introduce, and that has a lot of hardware ramifications, just in terms of like I guess more like engine ramifications, just as far as how things interact with the portals. And then you have Alex with the index and a couple of those like little cute portal tied in VR games where they were probably just experimenting with different uh, aspects of VR. So there's always something they're pushing forward when they have like a big landmark release.
Yeah, yeah. The man, I'm just thinking about Half-Life Alyx and the Index. The way that they implemented the finger controls was so well done. And from what I've seen,
Yeah.
the the Valve VR, the new one, I forget the Steam Frame, I think it's called. It's also has the finger controls and is completely standalone, which is I shudder to think what that thing is going to cost. It could upset the industry if it's cheap enough, but it probably won't be.
That's the problem we're running into is these big industry defining things have to be affordable, and it's really hard to make affordable technology for a whole host of reasons that are not things I'm going to soapbox about on this podcast, but boy, you heard me soapbox about more than enough
Yep.
off camera.
Yeah, so especially with VR, that's a big issue, I think, is that VR is objectively a really interesting gameplay thing for a lot of people. Like I unless there is like a medical condition that makes it like impossible or difficult for them to play, I don't think I've spoken to a single person who wouldn't be interested in playing VR if they could.
Even the people like me who get bad motion sick from it are still like, it's so cool, I'm going to play it anyways and just suffer.
Right.
Like, I know people who get intense motion sickness, but are like, this is so cool, I'm just going to figure it out. The problem it runs into is the reason it's not progressed further is it's not widely affordable. So you have a lot of already niche genres being implemented in a hardware that is niche by price point. So you can't get a wider audience because, I mean, we're all broke right now.
Yeah,
Everybody's broke.
and
I can't drop $1,000 on a fucking index. Leave me alone.
it's not just that either. It's like I can like a lot of the VR stuff, it ranges around the same price as like a good PC, right? The issue is that it doesn't have nearly as much games to warrant it playing because
Well,
making games in VR is inherently really fucking difficult. And so there's
all,
just not a whole lot to incentivize people getting them aside from like 3 of the same game.
also on the consumer standpoint, if my options are buy the index on the computer I know that I already have that can run it, or I can play a few more games. But if I take that same money and buy new parts or buy a whole new rig, that's a lot of stuff I can play. It is just more consumer friendly for me to go buy a whole new computer that can run hundreds of new games I couldn't play before, as opposed to like 4 or 5 VR friendly games that are going to will even have the replayability to be worth playing multiple times in the right conditions. Because I'm working 12-hour days, I'm not going to come home and boot up the index. Sorry, I want
Yeah.
to sit down. So
Yep.
it's got a lot of components that make it really niche. You need conditions at home and conditions with money, and then you got to consider like not really a consumer friendly option right now because I'd get more bang for my buck getting a new computer or something and having a lot of things I could play. Now, admittedly, as we're at right now, for a long while, a lot of the things that a new computer would get you are the same specs you'd need to run like an index. So there was kind of a crossroads there. But at this point, it's like I could have a whole new rig and be playing Battlefield 6 or any other number of fucking things coming out as opposed to like a dozen VR games over the span of the next 3 years.
Right. I think I can see uh the because one of the big things that they're trying to push with the Steam frame is that you can use it to play flat screen games. Like it has a built-in like theater that projects the thing in front of you so you can play your games on that, which I love. I think that's a great thing to do and a really good way to incentivize people to play it because if it's standalone, then yeah, absolutely I'd want to do that. But I think, like you're saying, there comes a point when like it it needs to either have a lot more bang for its buck, like it's got to be really worth it for whatever game you're going to be playing, or it needs to be more accessible.
The generally speaking, I think the correct answer is make it more accessible because uh, you're for one thing, you're already crunching into a tight niche where bang for your buck's just going to be hard to get at that price point. It's there's a reason why the consensus right now is generally speaking that is generally shifting away from consoles and into just getting a nice fancy computer because that's going to have so much more practical use on top of the games and so many more games to access as opposed to me dumping almost $900 on a PlayStation 5 and have limited use for it. We're already reaching a point where a lot of the things that were affordable and useful and standard in this hobby aren't at that level. Like I have a PS5. If it goes to shit, I'm probably not getting another one. because there's not enough on there for me to warrant it. Half this shit's on Steam.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, the writing on the wall is on the wall with Xbox.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, that
The
could be a
only,
whole fucking episode on its own. Jesus.
yeah, it might at some point. The only console at this point that has enough bang for its buck are the Nintendo consoles, just because they offer so much shit that it makes sense to me. Like, yeah, my Switch is probably my favorite of my consoles right now because it has a unique selection of games, a lot of those games that couldn't easily be ported to other things, and with their online service, where I would spend a whopping $27 a year, I have access to decades worth of old video games on that fucking thing too.
Yeah, and it also has the benefit of, I mean, benefit is very uh, debatable, but it has the side effect of most of the games that you want to play there are only accessible on Nintendo stuff. Whereas with most
Yeah,
console games, it's like, I mean, I could fairly easily get 95% of like console games on my computer. So
it's funny we're talking about this because there's literally a PlayStation publisher sale on Steam right now.
true.
Like I'm looking at this shit: Ghost of Tsushima, uh, Helldivers, both all the Spider-Man games, both the Horizon games, both the God of War games, The Last of Us, the newer Uncharted games.
The
A
God
lot
of
of the
War
PlayStation,
games.
yeah, a lot of the PlayStation like heavy hitters are just on Steam right now, and I'm willing to bet that the reason that more of them aren't is just a matter of time situation than anything.
Yeah, more than likely. I think really okay, the only like hard sell that only PlayStation has to my knowledge is Bloodborne.
Yeah, and even then, it's getting increasingly hard to play that on modern Sony stuff, anyways. So like, they're smart. They'll fucking find a way to get that over too and make mad cash by having Bloodborne remastered on Steam.
Unfortunately, Sony hates money, so, you know.
Well, yeah, don't we all? Um, but like, even my third party, like for a long time, the Persona games were just on PlayStation consoles. Now I can type Persona in here, and there's 5, there's 4, there's 3, there's an old version of 3, there's an old version of 4. There is the Tactics spin-off of 5. There's the fighting game for Persona 4, and a shit ton of DLC. It's all here.
Yeah. Holy shit, they even got Helldivers 1 on here.
They, they do. Like, purely on like a getting your money's worth point of view, there's the only benefit that consoles technically have right now is that it is still, by a slim margin, probably easier to hook up my PlayStation and just boot a game.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty slim margin to this point.
Yeah,
I spend just
and
as much time installing and downloading a new game on my PS5 as I do on Steam. The only difference is if there's, generally speaking, less issues. There's less risk of a compatibility issue on the PS5. Is about the only thing I can come up with.
yeah, I feel like depending on how the GameCube like is priced, I can see that being like one of the nails in the coffin for most consoles.
I am already, given all the computer problems I have with my own computers, considering looking into it when it releases and all the information comes out because it would make sense for the situation I'm in to have something like that.
Yeah, I think my only concern is pricing because Valve hardware has been statistically rather pricey.
But that's the other issue we run into because for a long time the benefit of consoles was like, yeah, I buy my PS2 and I put the money in for this. I spend like $300-400, and this console's gonna be here for the next 10 years, and I can just put games in the fucking thing and go. So the only issue we have switching over to PCs is like dropping a fucking stack or more is a lot, especially with like tech prices and component prices and the fact that we're bordering, if not already, heavy recession era.
Right.
Like Financially, we're cooked, and that's where the issue of like if these industries I think want to continue, they're going to need to find a way to have an affordable, accessible option on top of their highly priced option. Because from what I've been reading, yeah, we're not looking at a reasonable price for this little fucking cube.
Yeah,
And at that point, I might as well buy like parts or a pre-built that I can upgrade on my own time.
yeah. I sorry, I'm just looking at the page for the GameCube, and it's one of the things they have is the like the size of it, which is pretty small. Like objectively, a 6-inch cube is tiny for a computer.
Yeah,
Um, but the thing they use, they have a banana for scale. Like
really.
on the Steam page, you can look at it. There's a small form factor. It says put it under your TV, set it on your desk, hide it under a banana.
Uh, but I like all the ideas of this cube. I like that even with his Steam OS, I can still pretty much do all the stuff I'd want to do on a computer anyways.
Yeah,
I
and
like being able to
I
boot up games. I like that it's basically just a computer.
yeah, and they I believe they made a point of saying like this is your computer. You can absolutely like install Windows on this if you want to.
Yeah, I could have a separate boot drive to do stuff I want to do. It says right here, it's all your own apps. Like that's crazy. That's awesome. As long as I'm not spending comparable to a Windows computer, anyways.
Yeah, yeah, and just off
I
of
even like the idea of using SteamOS because it's 90% of what I want to use anyways, and I'm sure I can get Discord and some recording software on there. Then it just doesn't fucking matter anymore.
yeah, and like the only thing I can see being potentially like if they price it really high and like just looking at the specs, I can see this costing like reasonably in the like $400-$500 range maybe. I think any more than that and it's not even worth like because of just like the specs it has. It's eh.
Yeah, 60 FPS. So they have it at a point where, and they've even said that like the point of it is to be able to run pretty much like anything at like a reasonable frame rate, but you're not gonna get like the craziest resolutions, but you're gonna get the resolutions that are most commonly used. Which great. Give me 1080. That's all I want. I don't give a shit.
True.
1080 at 60, perfect. Sign
Yep.
me up. 4K is stupid. I don't need it.
True.
We're not ready for that yet.
I don't even have a 4K monitor, so I don't care.
I literally don't either. So that's great. And yeah, I think this thing is probably worth a few $100. If I have to spend anything in the proximity of a 4-digit number, you're fucked. I'm just buying a computer.
True. No,
Because the whole
anything
problem
four
with a
digit, they're
computer is
shooting
I'm
themselves in the foot. Like, why?
if this thing it's a tough balancing act, but if this thing genuinely, if this thing costs more than probably like I'm thinking like okay, so it's like a 2 terabyte version.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking 2 terabyte, you spend what 650, maybe 7 at absolute most, and it's probably squeaking by is still worth it.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Anything more than that, and that's ridiculous. And your 512 version, I'm assuming that the storage is probably swappable.
Probably. I think they actually
I,
said that you
I
can transfer, like, I think they use a micro SD, so you can just, like, transfer stuff between them.
it has an SD slot and it says that it has an SSD. I don't know if that. I don't know. Anyway, point being, I would imagine that regardless, it's probably swappable. I don't imagine Valve would not let you swap hard drives out.
Yeah, no,
It's just it looks like it's just a standard SSD, right?
right.
So, uh, 512 for like $500 maybe. Sure, I'm in for that. I'll spend $500 on that. Easy.
Yeah, no,
16
that's,
gigabytes of RAM, that's fine. 8 VRAM, 4.8 gigahertz. Yeah, cool. I'm in. I'll spend a couple $100 on that. No problem.
yeah, I think that's just kind of a sell for me. But, like, anything, personally, like, anything above, for the, like, hang on, let me get the thing in front of me again so I can know what I'm talking about. But like, I really hope that they price this reasonably because it could be massive for the like the just computer gaming as a whole. But
You would be undercutting damn near every pre-built with these specs under $800.
yeah, yeah, I
And
think
it would be a tight margin of profit, but you would still profit.
yeah, and historically Valve has been kind of okay with that for a lot of their stuff.
So I'm just
Um,
hoping that they lock in on that.
Yeah, it's price is really the only thing that we have left to worry with the GameCube.
Because I'm looking right at it, and yeah, I believe them when they say they tested this, and it can run everything that's currently available on the Steam store by spec wise.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Actually didn't see that there was a 2 terabyte version. I can see that one
yeah,
costing in like the five. Maybe I'd say that one maxes out like 750.
anything more than 750, and that's too much.
Yeah,
But I would be willing to. I could justify spending a little bit more for a 2 terabyte version. Like you give me like a 550 for the 512, and then a little bit more for a bigger version, and I can probably justify that to myself.
yeah. And I feel like depending on how upgradable it is, like I know it might be difficult given the size of it, but like if it's got extra RAM slots where I can just slot in, because I've got two 32 gigabyte sticks, so if I could stick one of those in there, I'd be happy.
Even ignoring that, though, the 16 they give you is going to get you what you want out of damn near everything.
That's very true. I should clarify. I'm just kind of a psychopath, and I have 80 gigabytes of RAM. Um, Everything else
Because
in my
like
computer is ancient.
their benchmark on here is 60 FPS. They say 4K at 60 FPS, but I'm going to be more realistic and say 1080 at 60 FPS. Everything they have on here spec wise is going to it's going to hit 60 at 1080. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, easy.
Which is for what 95% of people perfectly fine. And if you're looking for 4K at 60 or above, or even 1080 at above 60, you're not worried about this fucking thing anyways.
Yeah, no, you just get your own fucking computer. Like,
You just have your own custom build, and you've had it long before this thing was even an idea. So it doesn't matter. I would probably be in that boat if I had more money, but I don't, and this thing appeals to me heavily because of that.
true.
As long as the price works out.
Yep, we just gotta cross our
Uh,
fingers and hope that Valve is smart about that.
Historically, they are. It's even got a DisplayPort. Look at that. That's so cute. It looks cute. That's a little cube. I
It
like it.
does. Dude, the have you seen some of the skins or quote unquote skins that people have been making for them?
Yeah.
Dude, they're so cute. It's also just like that is a appealing design. Like there is
Yeah.
nothing
It's
about
like
that that is not an appealing
I could
part
just
of the design.
I could just put this in the corner of my desk and vibe. Uh, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure by the next time we do this, we'll have some information on the fucking thing.
I expect so, probably. Yeah, we'll have to see. That'll be the December episode.
Yeah, we'll be. Yep. Uh, well, I think they'd use a banana for scale. I think that's probably a good point here then.
Yeah, it's about an hour, some 45 minutes or so. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
great.
yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. To those who
Uh,
don't, have a good week, month. I don't know.
have a good see you in December. Have a good one. Don't
Yeah,
be stupid, etc., etc.
so
Uh,
on and so forth.
the white boys will return. This is a threat.
It will happen, unfortunately.
White boy variety hour will not be stopped.